It is a curious fact that heat remembers the places where it gathered most insistently. Breathe with the warm light, and let your ribs find the bay's slow rhythm. Breathe with the warm light. And with that small invitation, we lower ourselves together over a bay that remembers being a spa and an archive. We move as if untying a single knot, careful, habitual, and kindly. The Mediterranean here is a shallow bowl of turquoise warmed by a low sun, light quilting the water into slow ribbons that stroke marble and tile. Minute motes drift like gold dust. Tiny bubbles rise in languid clusters and keep a private pace with our breathing. Marble floors lie calm beneath a thin veil of silt, mosaic tesserae catching caustic threads and little seams of mineral, edges mellowed by long, considerate seasons. A faint current plays the edge of an old channel, curling around a column base and turning motes into patient plumes. We are courteous guests. I promise you this will be reconstruction rather than hurried revelation, an unhurried tour by sound and touch. Feel the cool clay beneath our toes. Allow the jaw to soften. Let the shoulders fold as if someone has draped a warm shawl across them. We cradle our attention like a rare object and set it down again, lightly. The heat that once flushed these halls is not absent. It has become a memory shaped by water, which keeps time differently and more gently than air. Baiae sits here as a coastal web of thermal villas and bathhouses, once a constellation of leisure where emperors and clients came to rest, to be seen, or to disappear into steam and conversation. The villas were terraces and rooms arranged around courtyards, frescoed walls that took light and returned it in quiet color, pools that were choreographies of warmth. Now those sequences have softened into layered currents and settled silt, but the arrangement remains legible if you learn to read by touch and by the slow logic of thresholds. We lower ourselves not to pry but to attend. Imagine the caldarium's velvet warmth translated into a remembered pressure on the skin. Imagine gossip and low laughter folded into the acoustic of steam and stone. Imagine domestic gestures preserved like fossils of motion. A cloak hung on a peg, a cup placed face down, a child's pebble pushed into mortar. These are not the loud events of history. They are the private orchestrations of daily care, now hushed and offered to us as traces. Move your attention to small, steady images. A tessera smoothed where a foot once paused, the faint mineral bloom at a tub's lip, the shadow of a key in silt. These are the notes by which the place sings its story. We feel the cool marble under our palm and allow the body to register that contact. A body return cue meant to anchor you in the present as the past unfolds. Let each small touch bring your breathing a degree slower, more measured. Do not look for drama where gentleness suffices. The sun here is low and forgiving. Verbs should cradle rather than strike. So we use words like fold, settle, cradle, and let, because the story is one of soft preservation as much as of change. Bradyseism, the ground's slow breathing, is a patient actor in this theater. It is not a single shout of ruin but a long, measured inhalation that altered thresholds and terraces over seasons. In the interplay of earth and sea and human habit, leisure slowly yielded to a different economy of place. There are sounds to learn, not only the muted slap of a net or the distant gull, but the tiny noises of silt adjusting, the barely audible scratch where tool met stone, the long, low exhale of warm water leaving a shoulder. There is a faint scent rising from deeper vents, a mineral sweetness laced with a hint of sulfur, and it reads to the body like memory of a bath just left, towels warm. Notice how skin remembers heat more than eyes. Places touched last keep a private glow. We let our speech thin to a whisper so the stones may keep their rest. Allow these intimacies to draw your attention inward. Let them make space for a softer kind of knowledge, the sort that fits in a palm and sleeps when you set it down. We will walk slowly. Then, through a submerged leisure, not to inventory but to be companionate, to acknowledge that these rooms were once for ease, for social ease, and for healing. The promise I make is modest, to guide you through touch and memory, to keep the cadence gentle, to let the place be itself while we are present. As the light widens and shirks over mosaic and marble, accept this quiet offering. That to remember can be to rest. Now rest into the water's hush. Let the breath slow once more, a soft, deliberate count. Inhale, 3. Exhale, 3. And when you are ready, allow the body to fold into the Baiae's slow, patient bed. One might suppose that knowledge, like heat, is a slow thing. It settles into stone, into grooves worn by sandals, into layers of silt that a careful hand can read. We place Baiae gently on the map of memory, the Gulf of Naples cupping villas and terraces where imperial clients came to be eased by steam and salt. A constellation of leisure and favor, mapped as much by conversation as by plan. Modern tools arrive as listening instruments rather than intrusive lights. The mapper's ping is a heartbeat, a patient question that returns in bleeps softened by distance. Sonar, photogrammetry, careful grids that trace an outline as if copying an old script. Breathe with the map for a moment. In, slow, out, slower. One might suppose the baths mattered for healing, for display, for the slow choreography of sociability. Hot rooms where gossip steamed, corridors where status was worn like a cloak, terraces where view and politics braided. We think of emperors and clients, of whispered wagers and the faint clink of a cup, but also of quieter economies. The household that tended robes, the freedman who kept accounts, the cook who understood the season. Archaeology here is not a parade of bold declarations, but a sequence of patient questions. Cores are vertical diaries. Pollen and microfauna are quiet witnesses to gardens and seasons. Stair alignments and submerged channels are hints about thresholds that once guided feet. The modern archaeologist listens. The mapper listens. The diver listens. The conservator listens. Instruments are personified as gentle interlocutors, and their outputs are read as invitations rather than verdicts. Breathe with the work, a small reminder every slow step. Inhale, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3. The field moves at a deliberate pace because the evidence rewards patience. Photogrammetry traces light across a mosaic like a patient scribe. Sonar draws a faint contour line as if sketching the margin of a memory. These methods preserve shape without insisting on story, offering instead a gentle architecture upon which we may drape conjecture. We speak of bradyseism as the ground's breathing, a slow inflation and deflation in the earth beneath our feet, and we offer that idea not as drama, but as a soft explanatory frame. Sea level change, shifting sediment, human adaptation, and volcanic microevents convene together as correlative companions. Each line of evidence complements the others. Cores tell of changing vegetation. Ceramic dates offer human tempo. Submerged staircases map routes of access folded by water. We are not cataloging certainty. We are kneading several possibilities until a comfortable narrative emerges. There is a sort of scholarly modesty here, a preference for layered truth rather than reductive answer. One might suppose that an imperial villa fell in a single violent night, but more often the archaeological record favors the slow and cumulative. Fashions shift, maintenance lapses, thresholds sink, and places migrate in use before water claims them. Community memory is a vital interlocutor. Local fishers know which ruins snag the net, which currents carry silt, which terraces hold shells. Oral testimony sits beside lab notes. Volunteer divers compile photographic albums that become primary sources in their own right. This co-production of knowledge tempers the scientist's certainty with the neighbor's lived understanding. We breathe together with this blended epistemology. Inhale, then exhale, the map softening into a companionable shape. Technical methods should be described as gentle tools. The core is coaxing rather than extraction, the sample labeled with the care of a letter placed in an envelope. A conservator's brush is a careful hand that unmasks fragility in slow strokes. A sonar ping is not an alarm, but a question returned. These metaphors invite us to read the work as attentive listening, an ethic of slow presence rather than a rush to display. As we outline Baiae's place in the imperial imagination, let us keep emphasis on intimacy. The bathing complex was a theater for status and solace, a setting for talk and withdrawal, for political choreography, and for private respite. The scholar frames, the conservator attends, and the community remembers. Together they assemble a portrait that is more soulful than schematic. Breathe again, softly, a reminder at roughly the midpoint of our orientation. Inhale, 3. Exhale, 3. This is knowledge presented as a soft companion, not a test. We let the facts sit like warm stones in the hand, turning them gently, feeling their grain. The map is a room in which we sit together. The tools are lamps that reveal only a few of the surfaces at once. We also conjure a library of warm stones where terraces are shelves and photogrammetry acts like patient scribes tracing lines in light. Breathe now. In, slow. Out, slower. Let ambered stones settle against your ribs. The scholarly voice here is gentle. Conjecture is company. Curiosity a kind, unhurried craft. We come to the question as one walks to a window at dusk, curious, patient, a little melancholy. How did rooms of laughter and steam fold into blue and sediment? One might suppose a single grand gesture. The ground's slow inhale, bradyseism drawing terraces down and allowing the sea to fold them in like a slow hand. Yet the past prefers company. It layers reasons and refuses a single shout. Consider 3 companion accounts, each plausible and partial. First, the patient return of the land, subterranean breath rearranging thresholds across generations. Imagine terraces that once framed the Gulf gently lowering, steps that once led to warm water now paused at a channel's lip. We feel the marble edge under our palm as a body return cue, and we wonder, with a careful breath, did the land's own breathing fold these halls beneath the tide? Second, a more abrupt edit, an inlet opening in a season that rewrote access and use. Could a sudden incision have severed a terrace's route and left rooms orphaned from their view? Geological traces might carry fragments of that story, abrupt shell beds, displaced pebbles, a scatter of debris that reads like haste. But even the sudden account is read through conservators' caution and the steady recollection of local fishers. Third, the human slow undoing. Fashions change, fortunes ebb, caretakers move on. Villas survive by maintenance and habit. When those patterns fray, tiles loosen, baths cool, duties are deferred, and absence invites water to finish the work. A discarded lamp, a ring tucked behind a bench, a hearth that no longer takes fire become patient evidence of hands withdrawing from a scene once kept attentive. These accounts do not sit in competition so much as in conversation. Stair alignments and submerged channels can read as evidence for vertical movement, for a storm-carved inlet, or for changing human practice. The same material gestures answer to multiple geological and social logics. We hold each hypothesis lightly, turning ideas as one might turn a pebble in the palm, slowly, with attention. We return to intimate moments to balance broad conjecture. A child's pebble pressed into mortar becomes an index either of play paused or of rooms emptied. A bronze ring lifted from silt bears a thumb mark almost preserved, a private signature that arrests the breath. Conservators speak in soft cadences when such objects are revealed. Volunteers and fishers bring photographs that reframe what a lab might infer. Let the body register these details. A coolness at the fingertips, a slight widening in the chest, a small audible inhale as we hold such intimacies together. And here the ziggurat motif enters our thinking. Not a literal stepped mound, but an architecture of thresholds and inner chambers. Picture a sunken hollow where light becomes cloth and water keeps a low hush. Imagine stepping into that chamber, a roofed room muffled by depth, a shallow pool at its heart, and in the silt a small thing lodged with patient persistence. A carved wooden peg, worn smooth by repetition, half-swallowed yet stubbornly light, becomes a hinge between daily life and the long geological gestures that reshape the shore. Consider particular markers again. The crimson mosaic fish whose flank is smoothed where feet lingered, the ringed lip of a thermal tub crusted with mineral bloom, the stare that ends underwater like a sentence missing its last line. Each detail invites a small argument about tempo. Was loss sudden or patient? We let these markers be small courts where hypotheses meet kind. How does fieldwork assemble these whispers? A coring tube is eased into sediment like a pen tracing a diary. Its vertical diary holds pollen, tiny shells, ash and seeds that whisper of gardens and seasons. Sonar's patient bleeps sketch hollows and voids. Photogrammetry stitches skin into plane. A diver's gloved finger traces a step with the same tenderness a reader uses on a page. Each instrument requires a reader's humility. Data suggest probabilities rather than verdicts. Breathe with that humility. Inhale long, exhale long, and let the evidence settle like silt on water. Stratigraphy offers palimpsests. Pollen spectra show gardens tended and then left to gray. Microfauna indicate shifts in salinity and temperature. Ash bands can record an eruptive whisper across several seasons. None of these lines speaks alone. Taken together, they shape a chorus that is measured rather than declarative. We learn to hear variance as part of a story rather than as a failure of narrative. There is a humane practice embedded in this method. Fieldwork is coaxing more than conquest. Volunteers and lab teams trade notes in low voices. A fisher's photograph can reframe a season's work. A conservator's nightly desalination becomes a ritual of return that honors both object and community it serves. We treat evidence as a guest and do not force it into schematic certainties. We let small objects hold the intimate story while larger gestures remain slow and courteous. We listen for pauses between sonar bleeps and the soft scrape of silt. We let those silences teach us how to read without coercion. Our curiosity need not be voracious. It can be quiet, reverent, companionable. What then do we do with uncertainty? We embrace it thoughtfully. The historian's imagination is not a gap to be filled by fancy, but a tool to shape careful questions. We ask those questions aloud and accept answers as probabilities and textures rather than proclamations. In that company, the ruined baths become not evidence of failure, but of sustained attention. We breathe with those probabilities, softening speculation into a lullaby of modest facts and patient care and quiet kindness. The baths remember, the baths remember, the baths remember, gently. We step now into the thermal circuit as if following a gentle score, moving room by room in a cadence meant to ease both body and thought. Begin with the entry vestibule where the air is still warm and the world narrows to the sound of water lapping at stone. The threshold itself acts like a hand laid across the shoulder, encouraging the body to uncoil. Release the jaw, let the tongue rest behind the teeth. Feel the ribs soften as the first warmth arrives, a body return cue. The sequence of spaces changes temperature like textures across skin, a caldarium's velvet warmth, the tepidarium's leonine steadiness, the frigidarium's cool porcelain. We move from one to the next as if through stages of being soothed. A cloak is unfastened in the vestibule. A hand smooths oil into forearm. Conversation drops an octave as bodies welcome heat. Imagine steam lifting in slow columns and making marble breathe with a softened sheen. Small rituals punctuate the day: a towel folded just so, a lamp set to keep a corner dim, a servant who knows the precise order of entry. These gestures are intimate, each one a percussive point in the day's slow music. Hear the muted percussion of linen on stone, the soft clink when a bronze cup meets a basin, and the whisper of sandals sliding to a standstill. These domestic sounds become an ancient metronome that guides the body towards slowness. Architectural cues invite the body to rest. Niches hold plastered figures that keep their pose. Thresholds frame pools like modest altars. Raised plinths mark places to pause and let a gaze settle on the bay. As we pass a tepidarium, notice how the light there is filtered and patient. It offers a glow that lets the skin relax. Breathe with that light. Inhale, long. Exhale, long, and let tension unbind. Feel the temperature change under the soles. The warmed mosaic yields a faint softness. A step into a caldarium is like sinking into velvet. Stepping toward the frigidarium meets cool porcelain through eased toes. Place your hand on a pool's lip and notice the mineral texture, slightly rough where many hands have washed, smoothed elsewhere by long contact. These tactile assurances teach the body that ritual repeated creates comfort. Let each touch lower your breath. Conversation here is choreography. People arrive and leave altered. Talk is softened into confidences, politics passed in low vowels, lovers speaking in near breaths. The bath's acoustics curl sound inward, making speech domestic and private. Imagine a voice close by, warm and careful, and let it be companionable to the body's unspooling. Utility and care sit beside ease. Changing rooms where clothing is folded with finite gestures. Service corridors where amphorae wait in modest rows. Hearth niches where water was warmed. These liminal spaces are gentle workrooms, no less intimate for being industrious. A cook's hand passes a bowl through a door. A servant's bare feet move without hurry. These motions stitch social fabric. Notice the marks of repair, mortar touch-ups in seams, careful tamping of tessera, oil rubbed into a bench's wood. Maintenance is a continual lullaby that keeps luxury hospitable. Imagine hands that tend thresholds, keeping marble bright and pools safe. Such care tells us leisure and labor were braided. Steam gathers like suspended light in the higher vaults. And when we lean close, the air tastes faintly of salt and rosemary. Small sounds reverberate as soft percussion, a distant sluice sighing, the tiny clatter when a bronze ladle meets a jar, a hush when towels are folded. Let these noises remind you to soften. Drop the shoulders again, widen the ribs, and feel soft internal ease. The inner choreography includes tiny pauses meant for the body. Let the ribs widen. Allow the breath to soften. Listen for the small echo of cloth on stone. In performance, these tokens map to micro-breaths, a gentle inhalation before a clause, a longer exhale after a tactile image. The pacing is metronomic and deliberate. We pause in an alcove where steam pools thicker. In that dimness, a whisper becomes a secret. Here a child's hair may have shed into water, or a ring slipped from a finger to rest on a pebble. These private losses are small archives. They arrest the breath. Imagine lifting a ring from silt, feeling cool metal, and resettling it as memory rather than possession. The bath sequence trains the body to slow. From vestibule to caldarium to tepidarium and outward, each space tutors patience. Thresholds teach the ribs to defer, pools train muscles to release, and washing practices become a pedagogy of surrender. Attend with soft curiosity rather than investigation, a warm hand on the spine guiding you to let go. As we near the circuit's end, the light thins to coastal gold pooling on mosaics and making each pebble hum with a private note. We close this walk not with fanfare, but with a slow return to quiet. Breathing steadies, jaws loosen, shoulders fold into rest. The final image is small and domestic. A cup set upside down to drain, a towel folded with exactitude, a quiet breath left in a room that will wait. We leave the thermal circuit with the body slightly rounded inward, as if cradling a warmth to be carried beneath the clothes. This is the lesson of the baths, that care is deliberate, comfort is practiced, and leisure can be sustainment. Breathe with that thought once more. Inhale, 2. Exhale, 2. And rest into the shaped ease the circuit has taught us. We bend close now, inclining like someone who reads a private letter. The mosaics are correspondence folded into stone, each pebble a punctuation mark, and each creature a phrase that wants to be read slowly. Place your palm, for a heartbeat, near the warm outline of a tessera, and let the body feel that small, cool resistance. A body return cue that roots attention in the present. Pebble tesserae hold light the way a quiet eye holds a glance. Polished to something like glass, they answer sunlight with a soft gleam. The sea figures are composed in patient geometry: a dolphin's arc, a triton's turned head, a laurel's ring. Each motif is an economy of motion rendered in tiny stones. Imagine the artist's hand, bent low over a table, choosing each shard as if selecting notes for a lullaby. These are not grand gestures but intimate choices: a red here to warm a cheek, a dark to give depth, a pale stone to catch a microsun. Listen for the scratch of current on the margins as the water rereads these mosaics. It is a soft, repetitive abrasion that polishes away anger and leaves tenderness. The moving water acts like a patient reader, smoothing sharp edges and allowing the scene to become more legible as a whole. Let that image, the sea as reader, soften the mind. Breathe in, long. Breathe out, longer. There are particular motifs that recur like refrains. The little fish that turns its eye toward the channel, the cupbearer half hidden in a border, the laurel knot that once marked a victor's seat. Focus on one, the fish perhaps, and let it become a small anchor. The fish is often depicted with a tiny curl in its tail, an attentiveness in its gaze. And when we trace that curl with our mind's fingertip, we are practicing a quiet devotion. Repeat this line silently if it soothes you. And the fish still turns its eye? Tool marks survive in places that have not been smoothed by feet. Tiny chisel lines, a slight unevenness where the artisan's thumb rested. These are traces of making, of hands that worked without haste. Consider that artisans often worked in small teams, one setting stones, another mixing mortar, another supervising line. The choreography of their labor is encoded in the patterning. We feel an affinity for these hands. Imagine the warmth of measured fellowship and the soft conversation of labor. Color becomes vocabulary here. Blues demure into turquoise. Reds hold a suspended blush. Black anchors forms while golden tesserae catch microsplinters of sun. Underwater, the palette is muted but persistent. Pigments survive like memories of laughter at a dinner table. Let color be tactile. The blue feels like cool silk against the palm, the red like a warmed bead pressed between fingers. Use these sensations to deepen the descent into rest. Close reading reveals narrative fragments. A cup set within a wreath may hint at feasting. A reclining figure suggests ease. A gadfly chased by a dog suggests season and play. Do not hurry to narrate. Rather, breathe with the suggestion. Questions are invitations here. Who set that cup down? And does the artist mean to invite the viewer into the act of sipping? Such small, open questions are comfortable companions for rest. Return to tactile detail. Run your imagination along the grout line and feel the tiny indentations. Imagine lifting a pebble with a gloved finger and feeling its surprising coolness. These microsensations are anchors. They bring attention into the body and away from the hurry of thought. Let each tactile imagined motion be a folding into quiet. We repeat a soft image to settle attention. And the fish still turns its eye. and the fish still turns its eye? Pause between each repetition and feel the body's slow response, microbreaths placed like punctuation. The repetition is a cradle. The motif is small and circular, suited to the looping mind. Consider the ways motifs were personalized. A laurel wreath inlaid with a tiny emblem might mark household allegiance. A cup rendered with particular shading could indicate a favored symposium style. These were domestic signatures, not heraldry. Think of them as the ways a household rearranged its identity: modest, particular, and tender. At the edges of mosaics, repairs tell a quieter history. Patches of later stone show where care was taken to return a floor to use. These repairs are acts of devotion. Someone chose to mend rather than abandon. Allow that choice to be an affirmation rather than a lament. It insists that beauty and use can cohabit. As the current rearranges silt on the mosaic's lip, notice how the scene both loses and gains detail. What is abraded becomes suggestive. What remains invites a softer imagining. Lean into that gentle ambiguity. Breathe, once more, long and even, letting these small details be lullabies that the mind can hold when sleep draws near. We close this reading with a tactile benediction. Imagine fingers brushing across tessera, the stones cool and patient under touch. Imagine the fish turning its eye, always just so, as if to say, "You may rest now." And sleep comes. The repetition carries us forward, and the fish still turns its eye, and the fish still turns its eye. Villas and domestic lives, quiet portraits of the well-to-do. We enter a room as if opening a kept letter, careful not to disturb the fold. The interior of a villa is a choreography of small objects and habitual gestures. Feel the weight of a cushion imagined under a palm. Soft linen with a faint oil sheen where hands have rested. This is a body return cue. Let the palm acknowledge that texture and allow the ribs to ease. The air here would have been warm with cooking and conversation, a scent of roasted grain tempered by rosemary. Rooms are arranged in sequence, but lived in as clusters of practice. A couch faces an alcove where a reader might have sat. A low table holds the faded ring impression of a cup. A lamp rests as if recently set down. Small domestic sounds animate the scene. The near-silent scrape of a wooden spoon, the measured slipping of a latch, the soft exhale after a long story. These are tiny percussive notes, private and dependable, and they anchor the body's sense of now when the mind wants to drift. We tell brief vignettes to keep company with the silence. There is an afternoon when an elder reads aloud from a rolled page. Listeners incline with almost imperceptible motion. There is a cook who tastes broth and tilts the pot by wrist memory, adding salt in a practiced gesture. There is a young woman who arranges flowers in a small jar, pressing stems until their scent rises. Each vignette is partial, deliberately spare. Objects provide intimacy. A key, bent and dark with use, suggests careful locking and the trust of privacy. A lamp base scored with tool marks keeps the evening shadow at bay. A small bronze ring, its inner band smoothed by years of wear, fits like a promise for a single finger. When these objects are imagined in the hand, the body responds. Fingers unclench, the stomach softens, breathing lengthens. Use that response as an anchor. Villa plans reveal social life as much as physical arrangement. A larger room for guests, smaller cubicles for servants, storage tucked into a cool recess. Evidence of hearth placement, storage niches and private thresholds tells us who moved where and when. Notice the rhythm implied by these traces. Food from the kitchen to the table, cloth from chest to body, a lamp passed to a reader. These habitual circulations create a domestic music that rewards patient listening. We are invited into partial perspectives rather than full biographies. Consider the scholar who pauses over a wax tablet and folds the wax back with a practiced thumb. Consider the young person who rehearses a speech before a glass of water and then abandons it in favor of laughter. These are scenes of being, not doing. They are small proofs that ordinary lives have gravity. We sit, we listen, we rest. The anaphora is deliberate, short, rocking lines that return attention to the body and slow the mind. Textures matter. Wooden benches retain oil and the faint smell of citrus. Textiles wear in gentle bands where bodies rub night after night. Pantry jars hold a ring of residue where olive oil once reached the rim. Hands mark time through such contact more surely than any inscription. Imagine running your fingertips across a shelf lip and feeling the place where an object repeatedly met wood. Let that tactile image lower the shoulders. Seasonality is written into household plans. Winter requires hearths and layered cloth. Summer invites open courtyards and raised sleeping benches. The same room shifts use across months. The villa is therefore a living archive of embodied routines across a calendar of gentle needs. Imagine a year within a single room: spring cleaning, summer guests, autumn stores, winter repair. Each imagined cycle smooths the edges of hurry. Privacy and service are braided. Servants inhabit margins where labor becomes lullaby, a soft sweep of a broom, the careful alignment of amphorae, the quiet return of a lid to a pot. These are acts of care, and they reveal how social life was sustained by repeated, modest rituals. Picture a servant's hand sliding a basin beneath a bench as a resident leans forward. Imagine how that tiny assistance can feel like consolation. Hold that image, breathe with it. Small damages and repairs speak tenderness. A patched tile shows a household choosing mending over abandonment. Read those repairs as evidence of stewardship. Someone decided beauty and function were worth conserving. To mend is to remember. Such continuity comforts a listening mind. Late in the day, terraces collect the hush of sea and the warm residue of baking. A wooden table rests in low light, bowls at half empty, and a cat, perhaps, curls into a shadowed corner. These closing images are intentionally domestic and unremarkable, built to soothe rather than surprise. The mind finds rest in the ordinary. We close this portrait with two small directions. Place both hands over your lower ribs and feel them rise and fall. Let that movement be slow and companionable. We sit, we listen, we rest, and having practiced such small witness, the mind is invited further into sleep. Remember the sound of an object being set down, a wooden lid's soft pad, a ring's faint clink, and let that small, domestic punctuation be last thing mind holds before it loosens into sleep. Harbor and Thermal Springs, the Bay as co-author. The Bay receives us now as a collaborator rather than a stage. Warm upwelling and bubbling vents composing a slow percussion that the shore answers in its own register. From the surface, the sea glitters and pauses, a mirror that holds light and folds it back. Beneath, vents exhale in patient bursts, a faint sulfur whisper imagined as distant percussion. Breathe with the wave. Inhale with the small swell. Exhale with the slow recede, and let the body learn the bay's cadence. Boats once threaded the harbor in a careful tangle. Oars met oarlocks with soft complaints. Ropes were coiled and uncoiled in deliberate rhythms. Amphorae clucked like slow castanets when set into wooden cradles. Imagine, in the mind's ear, the terrace conversations bending to the sound of arrival and departure, the soft negotiation of space as guests disembarked, their sandals whispering on planks. Now the same music exists as muted equivalents underwater. The cloth of a sail becomes a dark panel of algae, a furled rope reads as a ribbon of silt, and the lull of oars is translated into a slow, compliant slide that the ear learns to decode. Thermal springs are not merely resources here, but collaborators. Upwelling warmth structured how rooms were sited and how bath sequences choreographed bodies. Springs pushed warm water to the terraces, shaping microclimates where citrus or laurel might find purchase. Their effervescence provided a kind of local liveliness now softened under depth. The spring's voices are slow fizzes and occasional burbles, undercutting the sea's larger voice with domestic sound. Listen for that low bubbling as a kind of heartbeat for terraces that face the Gulf. Harbors are thresholds in a doubled sense, places of entry and of exchange, where care was both practical and ceremonial. A terrace facing the bay measured status by how it framed the harbor from the upper rooms. Stoops were arranged to watch arrival sequences. Small wharves became polite stages for display. Goods arrived in amphorae, textiles, and foodstuffs, each noise of unloading an argument about hospitality and about dependence on the wider world. Those arguments are now hushed, but the residue remains in alignments of stone and in the way a quay still catches weed in a particular seam. Sound transposes in the water. The soft slide of a sack now reads as a whisper of silt, the clink of pottery as a gentle scatter under current. When a net snagged on a submerged cornice, the fisher's surprise above was matched below by a small shift in sediment. The community's labor left acoustic traces. Fishermen knew which ruins reclaimed nets or which stones hummed when struck. In that way, the bay became a co-author of how the site aged. Its currents wrote marginalia and its eddies smoothed lines so that use and geology answered one another in patient drafts. Consider also the tactile meetings where boat and terrace met. Ropes looped across a cleat that once jutted stone-moored from a quay, hands clasping lines with practiced ease, and the small exchange of goods scraping the skin of a palm. Think of the sound of oars settling into racks, the soft sigh when a sail was furled, and the way terraces angled to give a view that felt like being held. These are domestic and civic acts braided. The harbor is public in practical terms and intimate in experience. Geothermal activity shaped both risk and reward. The warmth fed pools and created garden niches. Fumaroles scented air so that terraces smelled of and citrus mixed. Yet the same processes nudged the ground subtly. Vents and microseismic shifts altered thresholds in subtle ways. The community adapted, repairing, raising, or abandoning according to care and capacity. That adaptive choreography between human practice and geological temperament is the story of how the bay and its people co-authored use and change across seasons. Modern echoes of this co-authorship emerge in different registers. Fishers' photos often capture a terrace lip glimpsed between weedings. A sonar blip may outline what was once a small quay. Scientists interpret these signals, but locals often arrive first with the net, having understood the bay's moods longer than any instrument. This layered knowledge, instrumental and embodied, creates a tender partnership. The sea keeps its own ledger and the people the memory. Together they make sense and keep care. Let the breath align with imagined tides. Inhale as a small swell lifts beneath your feet. Exhale as it retreats. Do this twice slowly now and feel the ribs widen, then ease as the bay breathes with you. Body return cues here are simple. Relax the soles, let the shoulders drop, and notice the tongue's ease behind the teeth. The harbor's lull teaches the body to rely on cyclical motion rather than sharp gesture. Finally, think of the bay as an author that leaves marginalia, pebbles shifted, amphora necks buried, thresholds softened. It does not erase, it edits with a kind, slow hand. That editing can feel like a kindness. By muffling the noise of empire, the sea preserves intimacy. In the quiet aftermath, terraces become pages that can be read by touch. Harbor marks become punctuation that tells a softer story. The sea is a collaborator, not a conqueror. As the memory of boats narrows to gentle imagery, let the mind settle with the last sound. A distant, softened rope's creak, a minimal bubble from a warm vent, the tiny hush of silt settling. Inhale with the swell once more. Exhale with the bay's slow recede. Let the harbor's co-authored hush carry you gently further towards sleep. We let the bay keep its secrets. The slow science, cores, sonar, and tender reconstruction. There is a laboratory hush that moves between sea and shore, an attentiveness that resembles prayer more than machinery. The instruments arrive as listeners in conversation with sediment and stone, patient rather than intrusive. Imagine a coring tube eased into silt like a pen into a diary. The extracted column is a spine of time, each band a sentence that names seasons and gardens and quiet human decisions. Breathe with that image. Place one hand on your chest and feel the slow response. Coring is a careful coaxing. A diver lowers a slender cylinder until it touches a dark, yielding seam. Then, with measured rotation, it is drawn upward, bearing concentric pages of the Baiae's memory. Pollen, a sliver of charcoal, a shell, a thread of rope that once tethered an amphora. Each sample is labeled as if receiving a letter, place, depth, date, a small note of circumstance. The conservator treats the column as a confidant, reading grain and grain like a friend who tells story in fragments. Let a micro-breath follow that thought and settle the chest. Sonar arrives as a patient ear. Its bleeps are not alarms, but questions. Return times sketch hollows and terraces like a hand tracing a face. Photogrammetry lays skin over that sketch, stitching thousands of images into a soft map where mosaics and seams appear as tactile surfaces. The mapper moves slowly, letting the machine's output become a conversation rather than a verdict. We imagine the sonar's pulse as a tiny bell heard at distance, its echo returning with new information about the shape of a submerged room and the gentle slope of an old quay. Fieldwork is a choreography of tiny, exact gestures. Divers work in timed intervals, their gloved fingers brushing silt and arcs that disturb less than curiosity would demand. Lifting an object is negotiated with the tenderness of a midwife. It is wrapped, eased into a crate, cushioned with foam as if to keep sleep unbroken. A conservator's touch is like that too. Desalination baths are measured in hours and overnight rests, and each step is reversible by design because care respects the object's autonomy. Pause and let the humility of that process anchor the mind. In the lab, cores are sliced and coaxed into records. Pollen spectra whisper of gardens and wind. Ash bands suggest distant eruptions that left a thin, even trace across seasons. Microfauna tell of salinity shifts and temperature adjustments as gently as reading weather notes in a diary. Each line of data is a soft thread pulled through a larger tapestry. The scientist composes multiple strands into patient hypotheses rather than insistences, and that compositional humility offers us permission to rest while questions remain open. Techniques are described not as tools of conquest, but as methods of listening. A mapper's screen is a page of returned echoes. A core's layered cake is a diary of events and sediment. Machines are personified with modesty. The profiler listens. The sampler yields. The conservator welcomes. This language keeps explanations accessible and dream-friendly, preserving both curiosity and calm. Community knowledge is an equal partner. Fishers point to a snag and say which season it favors. Volunteer divers hold albums that read like family books. Conservators take local advice as often as lab reports. This co-production tempers the scientist's hunger for final answers and values local patience. Again, place your hands on your lower ribs and feel them rise and fall with the steady cadence of shared attention. Recovery itself is deliberate and minimal. When a ring or a cup is lifted, photographs and notes precede removal. If in situ preservation is wiser, then objects sleep where they lie with gentle markers for future study. Replica strategies are considered lovingly. A copy can help a community hold a public version while the original rests in controlled care. The ethic here is tender rather than acquisitive, privileging the object's continued relation to its place and people. Every technique carries a time signature. Cores take days to slice and analyze. Sonar surveys unfold over patient transects. Conservation can be measured in months of desalination. Patience is not absence, but method. Repeat softly with us as a chorus. Patience is method. Patience is method. Patience is method. And let that line settle like silt in still water. There are moments of small wonder, an unexpected bead in a core, a terrace outline emerging in a sonar image, a conservator's delighted, hushed exclamation when a pigment reveals itself beneath crust. These moments are quiet rejoicings shared among teams. They do not demand ceremony so much as an exchange of knowing smiles and the careful recording of context. Documentation proceeds with a humility that values context, meticulous field logs, time-stamped photographs, and labeled crates that ensure each object keeps its provenance. This quiet bookkeeping is an act of respect. It preserves relationships between object, place, and people so that knowledge travels gently rather than being ripped away and holds memory. We close this walk through slow science with a final body cue. Let your shoulders drop, press the breath down into the belly, and feel the steadiness that procedural tenderness offers. The instruments are listening, the sediment answers, the people respond with care. In that reciprocity, the past remains approachable and the present kindly attentive. Theories of submergence, bradyseism, and gentle change. We speak of sinking not as catastrophe, but as cadence, and the Earth's movement as a long, slow voice that changes thresholds over generations. Listen first for 3 acoustic metaphors: a long, slow groan for bradyseism that stretches like a low tide through stone, a soft scatter for storm events that rearrange edges in a single season, and a whisper for human-induced shifts where absence and neglect open seams for water to enter. Breathe with each image. Inhale for the groan, exhale for the scatter, and let the whisper ease in behind the ribs. Bradyseism is the patient idea at the center of many accounts. Picture subterranean lungs slowly inflating and deflating beneath the peninsula, a very gradual heave that alters the angle of steps and the reach of terraces. It is not a shout, but a long, tectonic breath that over decades nudges levels until a courtyard finds itself lower relative to the sea. The sound we borrow for it is a low, prolonged hum that the body hears as a call to slow the breath. Breathe now in a long, slow arc. It is possible. Complementary to that slow earth breath are episodic edits, storms and inlets that act like punctuation in a long sentence. A fierce storm may open an inlet, shift shingle, or scour a quay so that access routes change and use patterns remap almost overnight. The acoustic for such an event is a soft scatter, many small sounds made at once, a brief applause of pebbles and shells reorganizing. Yet even these abrupt edits are read in the record with caution. Displaced beds or sudden shells may mean a storm, or they may be the consequence of shifting currents accrued over seasons. Breathe after the idea and let the chest relax. A third strand is human tempo, the slow withdrawal of attention that renders architecture vulnerable. Villas need hands to maintain them. Baths require fuel and care. Thresholds require mending. When caretaking thins, through changing fashion, economic shift, or political reallocation, places lose their maintenance rhythm. This human whisper has an intimate acoustic. Low, habitual sounds that cease, the unmade clink, the unswept corner. The whisper persists in objects left where they fell and in repair patterns that tell of choices rather than single events. These 3 voices do not argue as rivals, but sing in harmony, each adding a timbre to the whole. Think of the site as a palimpsest where sediment bands, pollen rings, and submerged thresholds are layered scripts. A stair underwater might be explained by vertical ground change, by an inlet clipping a route, or by a household's reduced care. The archaeological method is to read these layers like a slow-minded reader. Consider each possible syntax, compare, and prefer a composite that holds multiple truths rather than collapsing them. We anchor this analytical modesty with small, tactile motifs. The crimson mosaic fish with its smooth flank suggests repeated use and gradual wear. A bronze ring found near a threshold could speak to a sudden loss or to decades of drainage and reuse. Pollen in a core may show that a terrace garden thrived then faltered. Each small marker is evidence with many addresses. Let your fingers imagine feeling the fish's cooled tessera or the ring's inner band. This body return cue keeps attention kind while the mind admires detail. The sea's gentle agency remains central. Currents and upwellings adjusted how silt settled and which features were preserved. In places where upwelling fed oxygen and moved fine sediments, mosaics survived in surprising clarity. Where currents scoured, only robust stone remained. Thus, preservation is not random ruin, but the product of ongoing material conversation between sea and built form. Breathe with the sea's contribution and let it soften certainty. It is tempting to want a single narrative, a tidy cause and effect, but complexity comforts rather than confuses when we accept it. The evidence prefers layered propositions and probabilistic statements. Perhaps a terrace sank mainly because of bradyseism and partly because a storm altered access while caretaking thinned. Perhaps a quay's burial is mostly sedimentation with a small human edit. Each scenario invites humility. Our role is to craft stories that are generous to ambiguity, framing likelihoods with compassion rather than verdict. Field practice reflects that generosity. Teams build multi-proxy narratives, combining stratigraphy, cores, ceramic chronology, and community testimony, and they present findings as converging possibilities. The result is a portrait that resembles a careful duet, where geology, sea, and human practice each provide lines that are heard together. Repeat softly with us. It is possible. It is gentle. It is enough. And let the phrase roll like a benediction. We close by inviting a respiratory alignment. Place both hands lightly over the lower ribs. Inhale as the groan would lengthen. Exhale as the scatter reorders its pebbles. Pause softly as the whisper fades. Let your breath find a tempo that echoes these three voices. Embrace the layered account. Comfort does not demand an answer, only a patient ear. The earth breathes, the sea answers, human hands respond. In that shared rhythm, we find permission to rest. And so we listen, together keeping gentle watch through seasons and patient care always. Rediscovery narratives, Fisher finds, and quiet stewardship. A discovery is often a slow conversation rather than a sudden revelation. Sometimes it begins with a snag at dawn, a net catching something unexpected, a phone camera flashed by a fisher who has known the bay's moods for decades. Breathe with that small surprise, a soft intake as curiosity lifts, a measured exhale as the community gathers the fact into care. The first tug is a human moment, palms wet, breath quickened, then steadied by habit. The fisher lifts a shard of mosaic or a curious rim of pottery, and the world of routine shifts by the width of attention. From such modest beginnings, projects grow in polite increments. A photograph circulates among neighbors, a volunteer diver visits, a conservator is consulted, a scientist asks for context. Each step is gentle and negotiatory. Consent is sought from the finder, and local knowledge is invited to guide where and when to record. We steward this process together. We steward, we shield, we share, and in that trio of verbs the tone of rediscovery is set. Communal care rather than extraction, a practice of patient presence. There is a distinct rhythm to grassroots discovery. Fishers have informal maps in their heads, places where nets snag seasonally, where currents deposit shells, where terraces lie close to the surface. Volunteer divers compile photo albums like family scrapbooks. Their images are often the first public record and carry intimate context a field sheet might miss. A cleat where a line snagged, the way a terrace lip flashes at low tide, the precise color of an encrusted rim. These albums travel from hand to hand, and become the first archive. Scientists and conservators arrive as respectful interlocutors rather than owners. A careful team will prioritize documentation, scaled photographs, georeferenced notes, and context that honors both the object's immediate find spot and the fisher's account of the moment. If removal is necessary for preservation, it is negotiated and documented. If in situ conservation is preferable, markers and monitoring allow the object to remain under watchful care. The choice is never simple, but in thoughtful stewardship, the object's relation to place and people is the guiding principle. Replica strategies often emerge as practical compromises that honor both access and preservation. A detailed replica can be displayed locally, letting a community hold a tangible connection while the original rests in a controlled environment. The replica is not a lesser thing, but a negotiated presence, a public face for a private object, enabling civic memory without exposing fragile material to harm. When replicas are used, we steward their display with transparent labeling and community input so that interpretation remains honest and relational. Ethics in rediscovery extend beyond technicalities. They are social acts. Decisions about display, repatriation, and interpretation require conversation with local stakeholders, municipal authorities, and, where relevant, descendant communities. The modern impulse to make artifacts visible must be balanced with obligations to place, people, and long-term well-being. A modest exhibition might pair a ring or cup with the fisher's photograph and a brief note about recovery, giving equal weight to object and context. Stewardship is also about restraining spectacle. Sensational headlines and the scramble for a viral image can fracture community trust and precipitate poor conservation choices. Successful projects cultivate restraint, quiet announcements, consultative exhibits, and educational programming that invites public care rather than explosive attention. We steward patiently, not performatively. We shield objects from premature exposure while we share knowledge in ways that build long-term guardianship. Volunteer programs exemplify this ethic. Local divers, students, and fisher cooperatives participate in systematic surveys. They learn basic recording techniques and the value of provenance. Such capacity building keeps the work grounded in community and reduces the temptation for outside actors to extract artifacts without consent. Training sessions are gentle and repeated so that methods sink in like soft sediment and practice becomes habit. Funding and bureaucracy are unromantic partners, yet they are navigated with humility. Grants pay conservators and build local display capacity. Municipal processes ensure legal compliance. These administrative acts are acts of care. They provide scaffolding that keeps discoveries from becoming liabilities. The steward's patience extends into paperwork as much as into field tactility. Celebrate small victories quietly. A ring stabilized and returned to a community case. A cup replicated and displayed with the fisher's caption. A sonar map that helps neighbors understand a submerged terrace. These modest outcomes reweave relationships between place and people and matter more than public fanfare. We steward, we shield, we share. Let that refrain sit and settle like a slow tide. Its repetition a soft lesson in communal fidelity. Imagine the act of handing a conserved object to a community member during a small, sober presentation. Gloved hands and low light. A brief contextual note, and then the object set behind glass or represented by a replica. The atmosphere is more like a family reunion than a spectacle. Voices are low, smiles private. In this way, rediscovery becomes a civic kindness, a renewed contract between sea and citizen. Stewardship is the quiet language that holds memory safe and alive. Pause now and let the breath align with that stewardship. Inhale, steady. Exhale, softened. Feel how care, practiced slowly and consensually, becomes its own lullaby. The bay keeps its stories, and we keep them together. These practices, repeated over seasons by modest hands and listening teams, Return dignity to objects and ground memory in shared, careful practice. Objects that hold: a small ring, a cup, a memory. Gloved fingertips slide through silt and find, finally, a cool resistance. A small circle of metal half buried like a private moon. We cup the find with practiced steadiness. The palm feels that small gravity, and the world narrows around the single, cool point. This is a body return cue. Place your hand over your lower ribs and let the pulse slow as you imagine the ring in your gloved palm. Discovery is often humble. A fisher's slackened net, a diver's patient sweep, a volunteer's photograph. When a ring appears, it arrests breath with intimacy rather than drama. The inner band may be smoothed by decades of wear. A hairline score might suggest an older repair. Mineral crust preserves the trace of baths now gone. We hold it. We let it sleep. We return it to bed. Repeat the phrase like a soft litany after each small reveal. Conservation begins as care work, not magic. First comes gentle documentation. In situ photographs, scaled drawings, and context notes. Then the object travels to a laboratory where custodians move without haste. Desalination baths coax salt from metal over hours and days. Overnight rests in neutral water allow interstitial stresses to ease. Soft brush cleaning reveals surfaces incrementally. Micro CT captures hidden repairs or maker's marks. Every step is reversible by design and recorded with calm precision, so history remains traceable. Describe desalination in soothing terms. Imagine the object in a warm pool that encourages old salts to give their hold, a slow exhale from metal into water. Electrolytic reduction may be used for stubborn chlorides, a gentle current and steady monitoring that soothes rather than forces. Conservators test, measure, and wait. The timeline is written in patience. These processes honor objects as sensitive companions rather than trophies. Decision-making is an ethic woven with community voice. Teams weigh fragility, likelihood of deterioration if left in place, research value, and the wishes of local stakeholders. Sometimes the wisest choice is to leave an object in situ, marking and monitoring it. Sometimes removal secures a safer future. Replica strategies are often part of the matrix. A high-fidelity copy can be displayed locally while the original rests in controlled care. We hold that decision collaboratively. The finder, the community, and the conservator each have a say. When removal is chosen, it proceeds like a careful rite. The object is wrapped in acid-free tissue, cushioned in a low-agitation crate, and transported at low vibration to a conservation suite. Their desalination baths are set at measured salinity. Water is changed and chloride levels tested. Metalwork may receive electrolytic treatment under precise supervision. Each procedure is logged, so the object's biography remains continuous and legible. Gentle handling continues at every stage. A cup offers a different tenderness. Ceramic soaks are timed to soften incrustations. Consolidants are applied sparingly, and only reversible materials are used. Pigment tests are performed with minimal intervention. Conservators proceed with reluctance that is practical humility. Repairs visible from antiquity are recorded as part of the object's life, not corrected for aesthetic preference. Such restraint keeps the object's story intact. Replica making honors provenance and participation. 3D scanning and molding are done with consent and clear labeling. Replicas are returned to community spaces, harbor halls, schools, small displays, so stories remain local. Replicas carry didactic panels that explain methods and reasons, ensuring transparency. We hold it, we let it sleep, we return it to bed. The phrase returns, each cadence a custodial vow. Small public displays are modest and reciprocal. A ring under low light may sit beside a fisher's photograph and a short caption. A replica cup may be paired with notes on conservation choices. Exhibitions that privilege context over spectacle foster belonging and shared custodianship. The goal is not to own memory, but to steward it. Tender moments punctuate the work. A conservator's quiet exclamation at a pigment revealed beneath crust. A volunteer's smile when a fragment is securely packed. Hands resting briefly on a crate as if saying goodnight. The lab's quiet ministrations, soft brushes, measured baths, careful logs, are equal parts science and care. Each labeled bag and documented step is an assurance that the object's future is tended with respect. Endings are ritualized and gentle. When an object is rehoused, the team records display or storage choices and communicates them to the community. Sometimes a replica returns to a public shelf. The original sleeps in climate control. Before a crate is sealed, hands may rest a moment on its cushion. We hold it. We let it sleep. We return it to bed. Say the refrain softly now, letting it settle like a final benediction. The object's life continues beyond conservation. Educational workshops, school visits where children learn to respect rather than to take, and small community-led talks that keep the object's narrative alive and relevant. Such practices return agency to local people and ensure stories are both shared and protected. This microarc, discovery, care, return, teaches that objects can be held without being owned, kept without being hidden, shown without spectacle. The ring, the cup, the small peg become nodes in a network of remembrance that crosses hands and seasons. Curl your fingers inward, palms to ribs, and breathe with the small circle of history cradled in your mind. The memory of touch carries us towards sleep. Repeat softly inside as you drift. We hold it. We let it sleep. We return it to bed. We return and rest together. We come now to the softest motion of all, the ascent that feels less like rising than like being slowly released. Imagine the bay loosening its hands, the water's hush widening around us, as if inviting a final, companionable breath. We do not rush. Ascents, like lullabies, are measured in patient increments. Place your palm lightly over the sternum. This is our final body return cue, and feel the warmth collected there. Let the breath lengthen. Inhale, 3. Exhale, 4. And again, softer this time. We turn once more toward the submerged terraces, those quiet rooms that have hosted our footsteps and our speculations, our memories and our modest questions. They lie below like soft-lit pages of a book we have been reading together. The water keeps them, the silt shelters them, the light strokes their edges with a fidelity that human memory sometimes forgets to keep. We leave them as we found them, unhurried, uncoerced, and intact. See them now in your mind's calm theater. The warm courtyard where mosaics caught the filtered sun, the thermal tub with its ringed mineral bloom, the steps that ended in blue like a sentence half-finished but still meaningful. These images do not vanish as we rise. They come with us, settled and quiet, like stones in a pocket. We carry them lightly. They carry us, too. As we begin to drift upward, water pressure loosens along the ribs. It feels like someone lifting a weight from your shoulders with slow, deliberate care. Let that sensation translate into your own body, shoulders softening, jaw releasing, tongue easing from the roof of the mouth. The world grows brighter above, but it stays gentle, like linen light through a window just after dawn. We make space now for the long exhale of reflection. Knowledge, we've said, is a patient companion, not a bright lamp, but a slow ember. We have followed that ember through terraces and vents, along staircases translated by water, through mosaic silence. Each site gave not answers, but invitations. Each object asked only to be held with consideration and then returned to its resting place. That is the ethic we practice together. Presence without intrusion, curiosity without appetite, reverence without claim. Ascent is a moment of synthesis. The 3 tempos we carried, geological, domestic, and human, gather into accord. Bradyseism becomes not a calamity but a rhythm. The quiet undoings of daily life become evidence of care. The sea's slow generosity becomes the frame in which everything else swims. Even uncertainty, once a tangle of questions, drifts now as a fine, settling silt, not obscuring but softening, cushioning the past as it moves into our hands. We rise another measure. Sound changes first. The deep hush thins into a brighter, airy hum, as if the world is opening a door. Then light, from the smoky blues of depth to the pearled greens just below the surface. Imagine those greens brushing the fingertips as you lift your hand. Feel them gather like soft cloth around your wrist. A last flicker of bubbles ascends past your cheek with tiny, celebratory gestures. Before we surface, we pause, a hover just beneath the membrane where water and air negotiate. This is our final stillness. Let the breath in your real body match the quiet suspension here. Inhale, hold the soft edge. Exhale, and with the exhale, imagine silt settling over the rooms we leave behind, not as burial, but as a warm blanket drawn up to the chin. The past sleeps easier when not disturbed. We lift now. The surface breaks around us in a slow, widening ring, a whispering applause. Warm air meets face and throat with a familiarity that feels like homecoming. The lungs expand more freely, the shoulders float higher. The bay responds with gentle sound, a hush of small waves lapping at an unseen stone, the distant, unintrusive memory of a gull's cry, the faint creak of a boat tether recalling passage and return. Look back across the water, though only for a beat. Imagine the submerged halls below, arranged like the peaceful architecture of a dream. They are still there, unchanged by our visit, which is the highest courtesy we can offer. Knowledge does not require possession, it asks only attention. And attention, when tempered with gentleness, becomes its own form of restoration. We drift on our backs now, letting the water hold the spine as if setting it carefully upon a warm cushion. The sky above is a pale wash of late light. No drama, only a soft gradient that the eyes receive without effort. Breathing becomes slower, more grounded. Inhale 4, exhale 5. The heart settles to a pace that feels ancestral, as if echoing the tidal memories we have been listening to all along. As we float, the narrative thins into a quiet seam. We recall the ring sleeping now in its controlled cradle, the cup exhaling salts in its gentle bath, the peg tucked into silt like a bookmark. We recall the fishers who know the contours of submerged rooms by the catch of their nets, the volunteers whose photographs fill the margins of memory, the scholars whose modesty keeps the story breathable. These companions, though distant, feel present, held in the same slow tide that holds us. A breeze passes. Let it be the final tether unwinding from thought. Let the mind tilt toward stillness. Imagine the bay becoming a great, slow-lidded eye closing for the night, water smoothing its own surface into calm. Imagine your breath following that smoothing, each inhalation a soft gathering, each exhalation a longer settling. Now the voice lowers with you. We say goodbye not as departure, but as continuation. The rooms below remain, patient as ever, mosaic fish resting beneath their ribbons of light, thresholds folded into tides, stories breathing in their chambers. They keep their own time. We keep ours. As your body becomes heavier or lighter, whichever brings ease, let yourself drift toward rest. Thoughts may dissolve like motes turning in a last thread of sun. The bay grows quieter. The world softens. Breath folds gently inward. And as the final tether loosens, inhale, soft. Exhale, softer still. Allow sleep to take the shape of water and hold you just as kindly. There is a moment, after resurfacing and drifting in the mild cradle of the bay, when thought thins to a shimmer and the world feels suspended between waking and some slower, older dreaming. That is where we begin this final passage, not in the depths and not on shore, but in the threshold between them, where water keeps its longest memories. Let your breath settle into that threshold pace. Inhale 4, exhale 6, as if the lungs have learned the tide's own patient logic. The body remembers the descent, the silts hush, the mosaic fish whispering long curves of color from their underwater sleep. And the water, in its vast quiet, remembers you in turn, not as a disturbance, but as a gentle visitation, a slow companion who passed through its archive without leaving bruise or noise. We often imagine memory as a ledger, something that records and seals, but water teaches a different practice. Memory as suspension, as carried particle, as a softness that never insists on singular form. Silt drifts, settles, rises, drifts again. Stories do too. What we have touched in these submerged halls, thresholds, rings, cups, pegs, staircases dissolving into blue, all remain in a kind of luminous drift. They do not harden into answers so much as accompany us in the quieter hours. Imagine now the water's long mind, centuries breathing in and out under volcanic pulse, terraces easing downward by grains and gestures rather than catastrophe, objects sliding into silt like thoughts gently filed. This is the kind of memory that does not demand recall, it lends resonance. Let that resonance settle across your ribs like a warm cloth. The past shifts, yes, but it never scolds. It whispers, and only when we are patient enough to hear. We revisit, in soft sequence, the lives that once moved through these rooms. Bath attendants folding towels still warm from the caldarium. Cooks listening to the steam's punctuation. Clients drifting between heat and cool. Laughter carried in small curls of voice. None of these lives were loud. They passed through light and water, through mineral scent and tiled floor, leaving in their wake the faintest hinge for us to find centuries later. In that faintness, in that gentleness, lies the truest continuity. Let your own memory follow that gentleness. You needn't conjure full scenes. A single sensory thread suffices. Perhaps the warm lips of the thermal tub, or the softened crimson flank of a mosaic fish, or the tiny ding of a cup set quietly onto stone. Let that one thread glow softly in your mind, then dim, then return if it wishes. Water teaches that nothing needs to be held tightly to persist. Our scholarship, too, becomes quieter here. The tools, sonar, photogrammetry, coring tubes, become less like instruments and more like breaths in a shared ritual. Each method has already offered what it can: contour lines, pollen, microfauna, faint signatures of threshold shifted. Now they fall away like scaffolding once the arches have learned to stand in the mind. What remains is the ethic, attention without consumption, curiosity softened by restraint, care woven into each touch. Picture the underwater rooms again, but this time from the water's perspective. The courtyards lie in their long twilight where light drifts like silk. The columns are muted silhouettes visited by small fish that move without hurry. Every motion is slow enough to preserve the quiet. Objects rest in their beds like small moons. The ring at ease, the cup breathing minerals, the peg anchored in its silted cradle. If the water has a heartbeat, it is a pulse so slow the mind must nearly fall asleep to hear it. Let your breathing match that near-sleep pace. Inhale for a soft count of 3. Exhale for a longer 7. Feel the body settling, as if the spine were being placed gently onto warm sand. Let the eyelids grow heavy, not from fatigue, but from ambient kindness. The shore waits for us somewhere behind the veil of light, but we linger here a little longer. It is good to rest in the liminal place where the world's noise has not yet found you. In this hush, you can feel how the water at its time, smoothing, softening, removing sharpness from memory, leaving only the textures that matter: warmth, patience, breath. If you listen closely, you might imagine the faintest echo of the subterranean breath, bradyseism, not as threat or spectacle, but as the earth's own slow lullaby. A rise here, a fall there, over centuries. The sea responds with matching softness. This is the duet that shaped Baiae's long story, and it continues with or without our witness. We turn now to the final inward gesture, gratitude, not as ceremony, but as a mild warming in the chest. Gratitude for the rooms that allowed us to drift through their histories, for the quiet labor of fishers, volunteers, scholars, and conservators, for the patient technologies that listen without forcing answers, and for the water itself, which holds so much and demands so little. Imagine, for a moment, that the bay leans close and whispers, not a message, but a feeling. All things settle, all things soften, all things rest. Let that whisper pass through you, gentle as a fingertip drawing a line of warmth across your spine. As your breath steadies, allow the images to dim one by one. The mosaic fish, the ring, the stair ending in blue, the silt drifting in its slow waltz, the sun folding itself into late afternoon, the water smoothing its surface like a sheet drawn over a sleeping figure. Nothing is lost. Everything is merely resting. You are resting too. Let the long memory of water cradle you now. Inhale, soft. Exhale, softer. Let the world cool and quiet around you. And drift. Drift the way silt drifts. Drift the way light settles. Drift the way ancient rooms dream without urgency. Drift into the sleep that has been waiting patiently at the edge of every breath.